And why I'm talking about rage from pain. If there was one theme of the eclipse, if there was only one thing I got to talk about in this video, it's going to be Chiron, the centaur. That's the astronomical object. They're called centaurs. It's not an asteroid. It's not a planet. It's this special object called a centaur. Chiron is right within a degree minute of this eclipse. It's right on the sun. And so this is the most chironic moment I've ever seen probably in my life, to have a solar eclipse in Aries with Chiron. This is the phrase thrown around when astrologers talk about Chiron, wounded healer. And that's an accurate phrase, but I want to break it down a little bit more. There's actually two wounds with Chiron and two ways that Chiron heals. And I think both can be instructive in this eclipse moment. We're going to have to grapple with our chironic, how we're wounded and how we're healing. And it might not be easy because this is an eclipse. It might be an intensified moment of catharsis and release. Mars and Pisces, right? Ruling a moment of blocking off, you might say, or intense transference of fate. But these are the two ways that Chiron was wounded. One, Chiron was born and his mom rejected him. His mom said, "Get out, Chiron, you're out of here." So he's rejected by his mom the moment of birth because of his appearance. Think about this. You're rejected by your mom right out of your womb because of your appearance. I think this aspect of the core wound of Chiron is something we can all relate to, especially when we're dealing with a luminary moment of blockage during an eclipse, is that we might have what I like to call early childhood trauma or family of origin trauma. I think this is a moment, if there's ever one, that might trigger some of this stuff for us. You know, how were our parents maybe not there for us, or how might we have felt rejected from parents or from early experiences in childhood? This is kind of common across the human experience. It's something fundamental to the human experience. So watch for that. If you're feeling anything like that in this moment, tend to that, because healing our childhood wounds is something that is a necessary condition of movement into maturity and health as adults. You know, it's integrating our woundedness, you might say, is an essential condition. And so that's part of the chironic wound. The good thing about Chiron is that after that wound, as a result of that rejection, he then is taken in by Apollo and taught these arts, you know, all kinds of magical and healing and philosophical arts. So Chiron becomes this very wise figure as a result of that woundedness. And I think that might be the message here too. Often when we're hurt inside, we have to learn things to heal. We have to learn techniques of healing, whether that's prayer or meditation or therapeutics or divination strategies. There's all kinds of therapeutical ways to heal. Even, like I talked about earlier, the baseball bat to a square object that can receive the rage, but I think that's maybe treating some rage as it's coming out on the surface, but really it's deeper processes. You know, you might do creative arts, that's Pisces, where Mars is. Maybe you'll be painting or singing or writing poetry as a healing modality. You know, I like journaling. I like synchronicity journals, dream journals. I mean, those are some of the best ways. Let those dreams come to you and then write out what you're seeing and putting together through your dream or synchronicity journals. That's synchronicity journals. So the other side of Chiron, and this is the last thing I want to say, is that Chiron is wounded because of an accident. There's these arrows that have poison and one hits him. And then Chiron has this physical pain that he can't get rid of. There's no healing for this pain. And so this comes later in his life after he's done a lot of healing work and a lot of teaching. And it's so painful and excruciatingly painful that then he makes the final, what I call the healing, the final act of chironic healing, which is he sacrifices his immortality. And he exchanges his immortality to free Prometheus, who had given fire to man. And so he basically says, I've got this pain that I can't get rid of. Take me, God, and change me out. And I want this guy to be free. And that's a kind of act of great selflessness, right? That's an act of healing for someone else. And so, you know, this is something that also might be coming up in your world, where you might say, all right, I'm gonna take the fall, or I will let go of something I otherwise wanted, but because of an aspect of that that's too painful, you may be letting go of some pain and then losing something that you had wanted because of just the pain being too great. And so there's no shame in saying, I want to stop the pain. You know, these MMA fighters, they're tapping out when it gets too painful before their arms get broken. So there's no shame in saying it's just too painful. And I think that can be also part of Mars and Pisces, is the seas of Pisces. Water is healing. The domicile lord of these Aries placements in Pisces is a big, big part of this. Carl Gustav Jung coins the term wounded healer for an archetype in his work, the Jungian model. And this is the idea that from our own pain, and this is often how I like to think about Chiron, is that we have wounds that we are uniquely then qualified to talk about because we know what they are, right? We've gone through it. And then we can talk about it and hopefully help others with pain or wounds that are similar to ours. And so there's a kind of connecting in our woundedness that can be very healing. You know, whole healing communities are built around this. A lot of the 12-step communities, that's a fundamental principle. Saturn and Pisces, actually, when Bill Wilson met Dr. Bob and they founded Alcoholics Anonymous back in 1935. It's this idea that we find the others and share our pain to heal. And I think that's both part of Mars and Saturn and Pisces, but the Chiron wound and this Chironic wounded healer energy. The final thing, just two quick things and I'm out of here. Jupiter and Taurus, don't forget, this connects by sextile to Mars. So that loop back to Jupiter and Taurus, even though Taurus and Jupiter is averse to the eclipsed sun, there's something about Jupiter and Taurus doing heavy lifting in this chart. And I just think about gratitude for literally the physical things around you. If you are emotionally torn up, and sometimes the only thing is at least I have a bed, and I can lay in that and drink some water. These are all Jupiter and Taurus, the physical body and the materiality around us supporting us and the abundance that we have. Look, everything's abundance. This is abundance. This is abundance. The coffee I'm about to go drink is abundance because people in the world don't have anything or are having things taken from them here as we speak. In conflict zones, in the Congo right now, horrific stuff down there. In Palestine, horrific things happening there. So we can be grateful. This is the idea of Jupiter and Taurus. It doesn't have to be a high number of things. It can be just the things we have that we really love and that really support us. Those are something core here. And I go back to whenever I'm like completely messed up emotionally, sometimes it's good to just figure out, okay, well, what do I need right in this moment? Okay, let me drink some water. Okay, let me call someone. These tangible support structures that we might have and that usually we can always have, most of us. So don't forget about those. There's gratitude lists can be a core way into this moment, can be a core way to get through the intensities of this eclipse moment. And then we're on after this eclipse. It's all gonna be over. May's gonna have a big pile up in Taurus. There will be no more eclipse. There's a lot of good activity here after we clear this stuff. So you can watch my month ahead video that I just did where I kind of break down when this is going to get clear. But this is just some of the eclipse symbolism. The final thing is this story with P. Diddy I thought was really apropos because it's the 5th house in the US Sibley chart of children. And it came out. These are the kind of horrible stuff that can happen during an eclipse, especially about wounds in a 5th house, which is children. And you see the horrific, nature of some of the powerful people in the society, trafficking children for illicit activity. Not good. And there's talks of P. Diddy being connected to these other networks of powerful people in the music industry. So, just to layer in a little bit of the mundane here at the end, though that's not really the focus of this video, just heal, give room for rage, heal in your anger, but try to settle into some kind of more creative outlets. And I think finally here, Mars in Pisces can be kind of like a grail quest. There's a reason why we're wounded and in pain. We're being led into our healing journey. And this is a quest of healing that can be very Piscean. So maybe you'll deploy your action into healing modalities that can connect you into your next phase or back to Aries, your next fullness of selfhood that has integrated the depth of the profound, whether it's early childhood or whatever pain you're going through. So that's my message. Take care out there. Have a wonderful eclipse as best you can. Get through this and the astrology gets much, much better here very, very soon. So take care. We'll talk soon. Peace.